What is up, guys? It's a Big Man Chief Fan here. Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be doing my June wrap-up. Now, before I get into the video, I just want to say this is not all that I read in the month. Why? Because when I tried to do this earlier, it just was a lot of mediocre and just meh. So, I really only pulled out the books that I really had a significance, like I have something to say about it. So, if you want to know my thoughts on the other books, just check out my Goodreads. But, yeah, anyway, this is the stack of books I'm going to be reviewing today. I think it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 books, so that's pretty good. So anyway, enough chit-chat. Let's get into this. Alright, the first book is Stephen King's The Shining. I've been addicted to Stephen King lately. I've already read like 8 of his books. And yeah, this was great. I know a lot of people love to say that The Shining is their favorite, but it's not mine, and I'll explain why later. This is the story about a family of 3, a man named Jack, a woman named Wendy, and a little boy named Danny, as they live in Colorado, and they go to a place called the Overlook Hotel, and some spooky things happen. Too spooky for me. But, The Shining, the thing that I didn't really like about this book and why I didn't get as high as a rating like a lot of people give is that I really don't feel, I felt like while the whole like him getting gradually more insane aspect of that was very well done, but it was only well done at certain points. It was very half and half for me, as, like, it felt like it was dragged out. It was very dragged out, that aspect of the book, and that's one of the most, if not the most important aspect of the creepiness of this book. And really, the whole thing with, like, what's behind room 217 didn't really, like, scare me at all. It's kind of hard to scare me with the writing, but Stephen King has done it before, and this one just didn't really terrify me in the way that I felt like some people did, but that's just my personal taste. But still a fantastic book, gripping story. Like, seriously, if you're not reading it for the scary aspect, read it for the story. It is a fantastic story. The characters are very well done, especially Danny. I think Danny is, like, the most interesting character in this book by far. If you see my Goodreads review, I mentioned his name multiple times for a reason. And it's just great writing, like Stephen King normally does, and I really like this book. So if you haven't read The Shining yet, I can highly recommend it. Especially if you're a fan of the Kubrick movie, which I haven't seen yet. I know I'm bad. Alright, the next book that I read is The Storied Life of AJ Fikri by Gabriel Zevin. This is really good. This is about a book owner named AJ Fikri, who's just like a grouch at the beginning and really just doesn't appreciate life. But then he finds like a toddler, like a 25-month-old baby at like his doorstep with her calling him mama, and it's hard to explain. Actually, no, it's hard to explain. I'm just terrible at explaining things. But let's just say he warms up. It's about a story of a grouchy old man warming up but with love. And honestly, it's good, but my god, it gets cheesy at some points. Like the whole ending just didn't look... I did not like the ending of this book at all. It was just like, it was trying so hard to tug at your heartstrings, and really, it was just... Picture it as like a violin player. Instead of playing this beautiful music and just making you cry, it plays this. I'm sorry if that was too loud. But really, The Storied Life of AJ Fikri was a good book. The story, for the most part, grasped me when it wasn't being cheesy as all crap. But the characters were also good. I was kind of not liking AJ at the beginning, but I felt like that's how it was supposed to be, so yeah, I guess that's the point. And the writing in this book is actually very interesting, especially in the middle section of this book. Like, the beginning was meh, the ending was bleh. Like, the middle 200 pages were fantastic. I really like the middle 200 pages to this book. And it has a whole ton of, like, literary references in there, a whole ton of, like, there's some, like, musical references in there as well. It's just a great, it's not great, it's good, but it's not great. But it is good. I gave it a 3.5 out of 5, which is my usual rating for good books, so if this sounds interesting to you, give it a shot. Alright, the next book is The Secret History by Donna Tartt. This is another book that I think is good, but not fantastic, because, ooh! Okay. Yeah, it gets pretty bad at some points. While the story life of AJ Fikri gets cheesy at points where it's bad, oh god, this is pretentious at some points. Oh my god! It's like Donna Tartt is trying to prove how smart she is. Oh my goodness. But does that mean that The Secret History is bad? It really should be bad, but it's not. It's actually pretty good. Because those small moments, while terrible, are very far and few between. In fact, the last 150 pages of this book, I could not set this book down. I could not have set this book down in the last 150 pages, which I read the last 150 pages in one sitting because I was just so addicted to it. But the first, what was it, like 400 pages or so? Yeah, it was very hit and miss for me. I do like the characters for the most part, especially Henry and Bunny, but I'm not going to spoil what happens to them. But our main lead is just kind of like, eh. In fact, our main lead is just bland and forgettable. I remember every name in this book, except the leads. I think it's like Richard. How did I forget that? But, The Secret History by Donna Tartt is a good book with major, major problems. And it's not just the pretentious aspect of as well. As you can probably tell, I could not remember the main character's name. There was just not much to the main character besides, oh, he likes to study Greek. That's it. The other characters were much more complex and more diverse. So with a lacking protagonist and just a lot of pretentious moments, it just ranks it down to about a 3.5, maybe even 3 out of 5 for me. But if this does sound like your thing, give it a shot, but for me, it just wasn't anything that I fell in love with. Alright, the next book is Into the Wild by John Crocker. I don't know how to pronounce his name. This book I can definitely talk about in its two halves. The first half is boring. I'm not even going to deny it. You might be saying, oh, it didn't capture your attention, you kid, but, oh my goodness, I'm playing the H card way too much, but the first half for me was just boring. It wasn't really dramatic at all. He wasn't talking about anything interesting, and when he was talking about interesting, he kind of changed topics, and it just it didn't have a clear focus. So you might think I hate this book, or at least not like it. Boy, does that change in the second half, because the second half is pretty good. I'm sorry I made that joke. But, Into the Wild is a very half-and-half book. It's like the definition. It's exactly a half-and-half book. First half is, the second half is pretty good. But the thing that made the second half better for me was that it was a lot more dramatic. It captured my interest more. It talked about more important issues, and they actually talked about travel more than anything. They actually talked about the environment much more than the character. Not the character, because this is nonfiction. That's my problem. I say characters because I usually talk about fiction, but when I talk about a nonfiction book like this, I tend to just get things messed up, and usually I use fictional terms like character and plot. But, yeah. But the person that they were talking about in the first half was just not interesting enough. But the person they were talking about in the second half, and in the environment that he was describing, was very, very good. So, is this a masterpiece? Not even close. In fact, it is just a decent book. It's not really that good, but it's decent. Like I said, it's nothing amazing. I keep repeating myself. That's another problem of mine. So I'm just gonna end it right here. I've talked about this book way too much. If this sounds like your thing, check it out, but if it doesn't, I can safely say to just stay away from it. Alright, the next book was The Shadow of the Wind by Carlos Ruiz Zafón. This is a lot of people's favorite book, or I know a lot of people put this in their favorites shelf on Goodreads, and yeah, it's really good. It's really, really good, guys. And it's just... It's about a boy named Daniel who lives in a town in Spain that's growing, that's trying to get out of World War II, and it's him trying to find out more about this author who wrote a book called as you probably guessed, The Shadow of the Wind, and things happened. What I really liked about this book was the characters and the environment and story, which are the three most important aspects for me in a book. Or no, the writing would be a better, more important aspect than the story. But the writing is pretty good, but the story and characters just take off immediately. I immediately connected with Daniel on a level that it was nearly like no other book this month captured, or at least I thought until I read another book. But yeah, The Shadow of the Wind by Carlos Ruiz Zafón. Oh god, I'm sorry if this was a terrible review. Just read it. There's only one problem though. At the beginning, there's kind of like this YA-ish cliche about Daniel, an 11-year-old boy, getting way too close to a girl about twice his age. That kind of bothered me, if you ask me. But that does not mean this is a bad book by any stretch of the imagination. I still give it a 4 out of 5. That's really good, guys. But The Shadow of the Wind by Carlos Ruiz Zafón. If this sounds like your thing, check it out. Actually, if it isn't even your thing, check it out still. It's fantastic. Alright, the next book. I know I keep saying that maybe it's the worst book of this year. I am pretty sure that I may have found, unless if I read some YA book in the near future, or like some teen fiction book, I don't want to say all YA, because YA can be good, sparingly. But this book made me furious. I don't usually give 1 out of 5 stars, but just this one deserved it. I could have... enough chit-chat. It's Mr. Penumbra's 24-Hour Bookstore by Robin Sloan. Just... why? I was expecting at least something readable from this book, but what I got was a very generic story that has been done before with absolutely obnoxious and outdated characters. Like, this book was written in 2009, I think. 2009 or 2008, I don't know. But it's already outdated. They use terms like, legit, there's a point in this book where somebody uses MS Paint. MS Paint! Oh, what a great software that thing is. But Mr. Penumbra's 24-Hour Bookstore, it's just been done before, but so much better. In fact, I read The Shadow of the Wind is a much better book about a bookstore than this could ever be. This was a lot more technological, and there was no passion put into this. It was very amateurly written, and it's just... I can definitely see this book being a kind of a joke in the next 10 years or so. But just, if you ask me, don't read Mr. Penumbra's 24-Hour Bookstore. It was a major disappointment, and it was absolutely... I can't say it's, absolutely terrible. It's not there's nothing good about it. Actually, it is awful, but there could be some good things about this. It didn't make me rage quit, so that's something. And I bet I could find a few more small things, but the major things in this book were absolutely flawed. So I just gonna tell you to stay away from this book. If it does sound like your thing and you do like this type of writing style, I guess you could check it out, but personally I hated it. And when we just talked about the worst book that I read this month, we're dropping into the best book that I read this month. And that's My Brilliant Friend by Elena Ferrante. I think I finally pronounced that name correctly. I was about to say Ferrante again, or Ferrante, however you say her name. This is phenomenal. That's all I have to say. No, that's not all I have to say. I'm at a brain fart stage of my life right now. But My Brilliant Friend is about two girls named Elena and Lilla as they grow up in the outskirts of Naples, Italy, and it's just it's a beautiful capture of poverty, hardship, love, friendship, and everything that you could possibly find in a great coming-of-age book. I know the rest of the series isn't really coming of age, but this book really is coming of age. This is their childhood. This is the is the story of their childhood, and the other 3 books are their story of their adulthood as their friendship develops. And this is absolutely phenomenal. If you haven't checked out Elena Ferrante's My Brilliant Friend, I cannot recommend it enough. The writing's beautiful, the story's gorgeous, I really love the characters, and it goes past just Elena and Lila. It's just, like, there's this guy named Reno, and I'm not going to spoil what Reno's character is all about, but let's just say he's interesting, to say the least. But My Brilliant Friend by Elena Ferrante, just read it. And I also read the 2nd book, and I pretty much feel the same way about that, so I'm not going to go talk about that at all. So just read the Neapolitan novel series. It's been fantastic so far. Alright, finally, our 2 books bind up in my Bachman books collection. I finally read Rage and The Long Walk. And they were both really good, guys. Oh my goodness. They were both really, really good. If you don't know, I'm going to talk about Rage first, because that's probably my favorite out of the collection. Rage is about a boy named Charlie Decker who just shoots his teacher. That's not a spoiler, because it happens in, like, the 4th, like, on the 10th page, and that's, like, in the blurb of the book. So Charlie shoots his teacher and puts his class under hostage, and things happen. I keep saying that word, but truly, I don't want to that's the best way to avoid spoilers. Things happen. And this book was actually banned, not really banned, but like Stephen King purposely made it out of print for good after Columbine in 1999, because he felt like people would get mad at him for writing that book, even though it's considered one of his better works. But yeah, Stephen King, Rage, it's absolutely fantastic. The characters didn't really grip me as much, but the language that that Stephen King used was absolutely phenomenal. The story had me on the edge of my seat the entire time. It's 130 pages, and I read it in one sitting. It was absolutely phenomenal. I loved Rage. It was absolutely fantastic. And finally, let's talk about The Long Walk. The Long Walk is about a boy named Ray Garrity. I don't know how to say his name, but it's Garratty. Or Garraty. I don't know. It's Garrity. I think that's how you pronounce his name. But he is a participant in the great event known as The Long Walk. The only problem is, it's not so great. Boys are literally, high school aged boys pretty much have to walk hundreds of miles throughout, like, the border of Maine, I think it is. Or, like, they go outside of Maine or something like that. And it's just them walking. Yet it's really suspenseful, because you can really see them getting more and more insane. And you know how I said that The Shining didn't really scare me? The Long Walk kinda did. I am actually kinda scarred from, not scarred, scarred would be kinda going too far, but I was pretty creeped out reading this book. This is him doing I actually prefer the insanity aspect of Ray Garrity more than Jack Torrance. And it's just, it's so well done. Both Rage and The Long Walk are 2 of my new favorite Stephen King books. If you haven't read them, just go and read them. They're absolutely fantastic. So, yeah, there's nothing else I could say about that. So that was the video, guys. I know a lot of people will probably be steered away from me doing wrap-ups. I'm actually debating not doing any more wrap-ups anymore, instead of just doing, like, reviews of books, because that'll lead to more discussion. So tell me what you guys think about that in the comments below. Do you want me to continue wrap-ups, or do you guys just think, you're repeating the same things over and over again? Try to do more reviews. Be honest with me. So, anyway, I'm Mega Man Chief Fan, and I'll see you later, guys.